Welcome to the show. Today we have Meisha. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. So, Misha, tell us just quickly, briefly about who you are, what you do, before we kind of delve deeper into everything that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Meisha Osorio. I live in Ohio in the US, and I am recently starting my own coaching business and also a coaching agency, which is called the Thrive Well Method. I started this because I realized that so many people really want to level up in their lives and they really want to go to the next chapter, but they don't know where to start. They don't know who to go to, who to talk to. And I am a person who is obsessed with personal development myself. So I love the idea of helping other people find their ideal coach, but also I provide those services as well for myself because I'm all into wellness. That is my jam. Like everything revolves around how well we feel. So that's really what I do. I'm a little bit of all over. I just do a lot of everything. Like I'm just a multi-passionate individual. So I put myself in things that really just light my soul on fire and that really does fuel me.
I love it. I really love that. There's so much pressure out there in the coaching space, and I know everybody listening to this podcast are not necessarily coaches, but there's so much pressure there. It's like you've got to niche down, you've got to do this, you've got to go after one person, and I think it's really refreshing what you've just said. Is you do the thing that lights your soul on fire, you do the stuff that really you are passionate about, and you've got the skills obviously to deliver on. And I think that's what's most important. Sometimes you can lose
Yeah.
sight of those things. So it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's so true because, so often I see this with so many people, they struggle with, niching down because there's so many things that they're passionate about. And I know me personally, it's like the moment you say, "Oh, I can only do one thing," I feel so limited by that. And then I like almost despise it because I'm like, "What? You're telling me that I can only focus on one thing? Like I can't do that because we're multidimensional beings." So trying to make anyone just do one thing, it's like a death sentence in a way because we pull inspiration for so many different places. And I think that's really important to know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I genuinely believe that every human being is a free spirit at heart. And I think when you really embrace that, I think that's where the fun comes into it as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
All right. So listen, thank you so much for introducing yourself. Let's dive right in. Let's like get to know you a little bit more. Tell us a little bit about you. How have you got to this point? Like maybe any challenges you've had to face to get to where you are now, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely started my journey when I was probably 8. I mean, I've always been free spirited. So when you were saying everyone's a free spirit at heart, that is the definition of me. Like since a child, like I could never really be controlled or anything like that because I just wanted so much and I was willing to just throw myself in everything. I really started getting into personal development when I would say between 18 and 20 is when that journey really started for me, and it was in that time that I just realized like I love to feel good. And then I had friends who started kind of opening my eyes to different things. And I realized that I always was seeing things on such a deeper level than most people. And I never thought anything of it until I realized like I no longer related or connected with people that were in my age group. And I would always struggle with that. And I kind of would feel a little bit isolated. And so I always kind of went down that journey. I was like, well, this is just like who I am. And I did. I actually spent 5 years by myself. I moved to Miami, Florida. I had a roommate and everything like that. And I really allowed myself to just dive into my who I am, what do I want out of this? And it was a great opportunity because I didn't have anyone holding my hand. I didn't have any family there. I didn't have any friends there yet. And so it really allowed me that opportunity to truly experience life on such a deeper levels. And I remember people were always so confused by it. They were like, well, why, like, you should get a boyfriend, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, that's not where I am at this moment. Like in my moment, I'm like, I'm just chasing my dreams. And it was, I want to say in 2014 or 15, I was actually diagnosed with severe anxiety. And what happened is I was actually on my way to a beach and had really weird feelings. I'm like, what the world? Like I never experienced it before. So I was like, what is this? Like I felt like something was going on with my heart. I really truly believed I was having a heart attack. And my mom, who is a nurse, I remember almost got to the beach and I was like, I have to get out of the car. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm a grounder. So I'm like, I need to get into the ground and ground myself. And I was like, trying to just pull up that natural energy from the earth and everything. And I'm like, okay, I was like, Mom, I really think I'm having a heart attack. She was like, you're not, you're just having an anxiety attack. I'm like, I don't know what anxiety is. Can you like, please explain this to me? And yeah, and it was from that point forward that anxiety was always going to be a part of my journey. So I just kind of have like this little, I refer to like anxiety as like this little fear partner that I have. And I just have to accept it and allow that it's always going to be there. And so what used to come to me in life that was so easy, where I was very invincible, is no longer going to be easy to me anymore. Like, I'm going to have that fear. I'm going to second guess. I'm going to, overthink things and everything else. So it made my journey a little bit more challenging, but it was okay because, I do feel like it makes you more relatable, because there's so many people who are going through some type of like mental illness and everything, and they struggle with it and they don't know how to overcome it. And, I had a best friend at the time who, I would tell her all about this stuff, and she was like, well, maybe you really are just going crazy. And I'm like, that's like the last thing that anyone who has anxiety wants to hear, is that you're going crazy. Like, they already feel crazy. So you don't want to hear that someone also pretty much thinks you're going crazy too. And so it was actually in that moment, I had gone to a doctor, and initially they gave me some very like mild medication. And I actually ended up moving back to Ohio because I couldn't keep working anymore, because I couldn't be in a car long enough to get to my job. So that was how bad the anxiety was, is that I would drive and I would have to get out of my car every 15 minutes because I would hyperventilate. My hands would go numb, my mouth would go numb. Like, it was just very paralyzing. And so when I moved back to Ohio, I went to my doctor and they were going to put me on a stronger medication. And when I read the side effects of the potential medication, it was like potential seizures. I'm like, yeah, that's a negative for me. I'm like, I'm not doing this, because in the process of getting anxiety, I now became a hypochondriac. And so I literally didn't know what to do anymore. So I was like, okay. I went to the doctor. I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not taking this medication. And I decided to heal myself with a healthy diet and exercise. And so that was my plan. And so I never took and it's been almost 7 years now. I've never taken any medication since that very first time. I did focus on being more vegetarian, vegan, and I've never had another anxiety attack since. Now, I have moments of high stress where I feel anxiety, but I've never gone into a full-blown attack since the time. So I've really I've followed this journey of healing. So it really has been a healing journey for me. So that's kind of what's led me to this point, truthfully.
Awesome. It's so many people, I think, will be able to relate to what you're saying, especially with that, like, kind of that high level of anxiety that experience. I know a lot of people, past and present, who just go through it and they just don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what it is, like you did as well. You said you had no idea what anxiety attack was, or what meant to feel like, or what was going on. And what I love about what you said there is you decided to trust in yourself, like that you trust in your own body to be able to heal itself through fixing your diet, your movements, all these other things. And I think it's important for people to realize that as well, is like, anxiety does start within. It's like everything that's going on is inside of you. So if it starts from within, it can be fixed from within.
Exactly.
But it's just, again, when you're in that high level of stress, high level of anxiety, it doesn't feel like there's an out at the time. So it does take that kind of getting to a point where you try to step back, or maybe the suffering becomes too much, where you've got to find another solution, another way of dealing with it. And like, I'm glad what you said. Like, we're definitely not like anti-doctor, anti-medicine. It has its place, but I think with stress and anxiety, I think starting from within is definitely the way to go. Because then if you do everything you need to do within and it still doesn't work, then obviously it's then that's what you can take down. But it's always good to start with your food, your movement, your thoughts, your emotions. And like you said, anxiety is a part of life. It's going to come up now and again. But
Yeah.
now you're more aware of it, you know what's happening, you know what you're feeling, you know how to manage it, you know how to bring it back down again whenever you feel it arising. And that's, I think, the powerful thing is just becoming aware of what's happening within and being able to understand that it is okay. It's not bad, it's not good, it's happening,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
experiencing it. And then, but I'm aware of it, but now I know what I need to do to bring it back down again and bring myself into a more relaxed, resourceful state.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing because in the journey you also get the teachings that you're going to need. So even when I had made that decision that, hey, I'm not going to do this, all this wisdom came to me. Like I knew right away. I was like, okay, I can't drink, I can't have caffeine. Like these were things that I completely eliminated out of my diet for a year. And it wasn't even that I had researched it and like found it. It's just I knew that when I was having these like different substances, one, I didn't like the idea of feeling out of control in my body, so that eliminated the whole drinking alcohol part. And then caffeine, I would notice, would put me in those like fearful states, like it would really trigger that anxiety. So I think that if people even understood that certain things that we've been put in our body are triggering our anxieties or even depressions, like especially high sugars and stuff like that, it really does make a big difference in how you're overall going to perform mentally. So I definitely agree. And you know, when that does happen, when you do have anxiety, it's very important not to judge yourself and feel like there's something wrong with you, because that's just going to enhance that anxiety versus just say, you know what, this is what's happening, I'm observing it, I'm not defined by it. And that's another thing that I really think is important, is that I don't walk around and say, hey, I'm anxiety. I'm not defined by anxiety. It's something that I experience and that I deal with, but it doesn't have like complete power or control over me. And I think that's so important, is like when people feel they don't have control, then they are very quick to feel powerless. So it's really important to know that too.
There's a couple of things there that really stood out to me as you were speaking, and that the second one being that last point that you mentioned about identifying with it, because one of the most common mistakes that we find as coaches is people, you know, when you get to know them, they'll be like, I'm an anxious person, I am anxious, they own it like it's almost a badge of honor, not because they're enjoying it, but just because that's what they know. And it's so powerful to know that it doesn't have to be that way. There's so much more to you than experiencing anxiety. And I think
absolutely,
so powerful, because the thing is, anybody listening that might have, you know, realized that maybe they've been using that reference point for themselves, it's so important to remember that when we believe something is part of our identity and we almost hold a label, as it were, we don't usually want to let it go, because we feel like it's part of us, and then it's too scary to let it go, and then you're stuck in this vicious cycle of feeling anxiety but not wanting to let it go, because that's also scary, and that then triggers your anxiety as well. And it's a very tricky loop to get stuck into, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And that's why it's so important to have like techniques and people who can also guide you and everything, because I'll tell you, I've gone through therapy. I've had multiple therapists in the years, and my very first therapist, after I actually two, there was one counselor I went to and then another therapist, that literally I had one counselor telling me, well, maybe there's a brain tumor here, like anxiety doesn't do this. So again, hypochondriac, what do you think that triggers in me? I mean, I remember going through a lot of fear of thinking that, oh my gosh, like how many times I thought I was dying or had a deathly ill disease. Like it has definitely happened quite a bit. And, you know, I've had another therapist who would actually like induce my anxiety as well. So it was just like, oh my gosh. So it's really important to, if something's not working for you, to go away from whatever that is and go find the correct solutions. And, you know, and I think that's what's so important, is like for people who are trying to get coaches and everything else, maybe the first one you get does not work out for you, but don't give up. There's still going to be people out there that are going to be able to help you. So just keep, you know, stay on that path to finding the help, and don't give up and feel helpless, like, you know, you're doomed, because there are going to be people who are going to be a perfect match.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that 100%. The other thing that you mentioned earlier that I wanted to pick up on, and you just also like gave it a beautiful example of it, is you, the fact that you've listened to yourself. It's like you could have stayed seeing counselor or the therapist that was inducing that that anxiety because they're almost deemed as an authority in that area. But actually instead what you did is you went inward and you listened to your own intuition and you started to just raise your awareness and no, alcohol's triggering this, caffeine's triggering that. Maybe when I think about this is coming up for me. But that level of self-awareness has clearly been pivotal for you, has it?
Oh yeah, self-awareness is definitely one of my strongest suits. Like it definitely is. Like I'm hyper super aware. So, which is great. I mean, I've even had great therapists who are like, I'm not really 100% sure why you're here because you're very self-aware. Like you know your problems, you know why you do the things you do. And I'm like, yeah, but I just like to talk. So I need to talk this stuff out. So but yeah, I think that self-awareness really is such a key to so many things in your life because when you are self-aware, you're going to be able to identify when you're even self-sabotaging and everything else. And that's one of the things that I am also focused, but it can also sometimes paralyze you as well, being too self-aware, because when you can become so self-aware sometimes, you know everything wrong, and sometimes you can be even more critical and harder on yourself because you know why you're doing something, and that can also paralyze you from acting too. So it's great, and it's a blessing and a curse within itself, but overall I love that it's a blessing.
What would you say to somebody that's listening to this and they are feeling like their heightened level of self-awareness is actually holding them back?
Yeah. So, and this is something that I still deal with and go through. Like, but what I would say is identify. I mean, again, you have to be aware in order to make change. And that really is the first step. So, maybe something isn't meant for you to act on right away, and that's okay. Like, everything has its perfect timing. But knowing that you're aware, you already planted a seed. So maybe it might not happen for you right now, whatever you're trying to change about yourself or fix. Maybe it's not the right time, but it will, because it's going to stay there. The awareness is not going to leave you. So if you allow it to just be there and identify with it and not judge it, and really self-awareness is really important to not judge ourselves because that can really happen. So it's, see it, say, hey, this is something I want to work on. This is something I want to do. And I'm going to figure this out. Maybe right now my plate's a little too full for me to deal with this, but I would really say just take things like one step at a time. Like, do not feel like it's a race. Like, take your time with it. We, especially as involving individuals, especially in people in personal development and wellness industries, like we're very known to, we want to keep evolving, we want to keep growing, but sometimes you can lead yourself to burnout by trying to do too much. So just take things piece by piece, one moment at a time, one day at a time. And within time, all those small changes add up to big changes.
Brilliant. Perfect.
Awesome. Meisha, your story is absolutely amazing, what you've gone through. And what I really want to know is how does your experiences that you've gone through and everything that you've gone through, how does that translate into you helping your clients? How is it, what do you do when you work with your clients?
Yeah, so it really does help me when I'm talking with people because I can understand and I can identify a lot of their struggles. And I think as coaches and consultants and nutritionists and all these different fields, it's really important that you can actually really identify, because if we can't help something that we don't know. So that's really big. So I don't try to take on things that I don't understand or I'm not a professional in or I haven't experienced myself. All I can do is relate and connect, hear them out, listen to them out, and see. Really, people tell you what they need, but we have to be active listeners. And I know for someone like me, I can struggle a little bit on the listening side of things because I love sharing. But I noticed that the more and more that we listen, people actually have their own formula of what's going to help them, what's going to heal them. And really what our job is to do is to listen for it and then reflect it back to them so that it's going to align with them, because what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for someone else. So it's important that we are listening so we can give them what they are saying that they need and what would serve them. Because like I said from very beginning, like you had said, we are our own authority person. That's at the end of the day, we can go out and we can find everyone, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to you. You have to be the one who is showing up, who's doing the changes, who is willing to do the work. I can tell you all day what to do, but it comes down to you saying this is what I want. So, I mean, we all have techniques and tricks and stuff like that, But again, all of us have our own success formula of healing, growth, and involvement. So it's all about listening. That's really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, I would echo that right back. We always say to our clients, or to anybody really, is like, you already have the solutions, you already have the resources within you. It's just about finding them and navigating it to make sure that then you've got the right toolbox to go with what it is that you're trying to achieve. So they're the most successful coaches. They're the ones that actually can show incredible results with clients as well. And sometimes maybe when somebody is in that heightened state of stress or anxiety, maybe that's hard to believe in the beginning, but it's still a truth. I'm convinced that that's one of the universal laws out there, really. Yet to be published, but it's definitely something that it just every single time we almost put that coaching hat on, it's proved right every time. When you hold that space and just listen, people coming up with their own solutions. Not to say, like you said, that obviously we play a role, there's these techniques and methods that we use, but it's giving them people the space and listening to that and appreciating that, not only for themselves but for allowing you to be part of that journey as well, I think.
But there's no one that is more an authority figure on you than you.
Exactly.
A coach's job isn't to obviously push on you what works for them or what has worked for them or other clients. Is to basically listen and help guide their client to become more aware. And by becoming more aware, they find the answers themselves. And that's kind of the powerful thing of it, is like, you do have it, you don't remember it, and the coaches help you remember.
Exactly.
And that's the kind of good thing about it. It's not about just, okay, this works for me, so you do the same thing. And if it doesn't work for you, you're doing it wrong. So it's about, okay, it worked for me, it might not work for you. So let's find what does. And that's
no, I love this. Like, what we're actually talking about is so spot on, because this morning I had a very big self-awareness moment, all about self-awareness today, apparently. And it was so funny because everything you're saying right now it rings so true. And I actually have wrote a post I just put on Instagram right now, and it was talking about, I was sitting here thinking I had a trigger moment where I felt that unworthiness, that not good enough, like something's wrong with me because I can't, why do I respond like this? When we have these moments, and I realized I sat with myself this morning for about an hour, and I just allowed myself to feel that uncomfortable feelings. Like, where is this discomfort leading me? And it led me to when in first grade I was held back. And so that was the very first time in my life that I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel like I knew enough to figure out my life, because I didn't realize it. But the truth is that's not true. Other people's opinions of us or their judgments are not defining for us unless we allow it to. And it was in those moments I realized, I'm like, no, you did not fail. You failed at what they wanted you to do, not who you really are. And that's the thing in school systems, is that we're judged on one way of learning, and we all have such different styles. So that's why if we go into coaching and we're saying no, my way and only my way is the only way that's going to work, we're going to fail as a coach every single time, because not everyone has our styles. And I realized how many people who maybe they've been held back like I was or such, and felt like they weren't smart, they weren't good enough, because Albert Einstein has a famous quote that, if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it's going to believe its whole life that it's stupid. And I think that so many people struggle with that because we get judged based off of other people's ways of succeeding and not our own. And if we understood that just a little bit more and realized no, I have my own blueprint, I have my own path, my own way, that is going to shine so much more, because the more we're authentic to ourselves and our learning styles and how we, ingest all this information around us, we're going to be so much more powerful. And especially as coaches, it's really important that, again, we understand that everyone does have their own way. And we're just here to remind them of their own, because they already know, they know it all. We just are here to basically remind them and show them and bring it back to the surface, because then they're like, oh yeah, duh, that makes so much sense. I'm like, well, yeah, because it's you told me it. I'm just giving you the information.
And it's funny, isn't it, when you get that feedback from clients and it's like, oh, is it really that simple? It's like, yeah, you just said it. What do you think? and it's aha, and then it's just another one of those aha moments. So Meisha, please tell us a little bit more about your big picture mission. What is it you're doing with all this good work that you're doing? Where is it leading? What's the kind of impact that you're having?
Yeah, my biggest goal right now, honestly, is to help as many people get the help that they need so that they can level up, because that causes a ripple effect. The more that everyone is in their happy space and their happy place, this world's a happier place. So it might be like, super cliche, but yeah, I truly want this world to be a positive, happy place. And I truly believe that we have the ability and the tools, but what it takes is everyone being their truly authentic selves and being truly happy where they are. And it isn't until we get to that, the world, I mean, actually, we all have this ripple effect. Like, I can send out positive vibes and it can go worldwide. But the more people doing that, the bigger that impact is going to be. So my goal is to truly help people, find their happiness again. And then if it's not me, connect them with the right people who will, because I'm just me. I can only do so much, but I'm not a trainer. I don't know everything. So I'm not a mental coach either. So like, it's really important that we connect people with the right things and saying, hey, you know what, this isn't my specialty, but I know someone who can. And I think that's really impactful. And, it again, collaboration over competition. And I really am a firm believer of just helping people truly find their joy, find their bliss, so that we can all be happy. Because when people are depressed and unhappy, like, I mean, you see chaos, like you see it, you see these things act out in the world. And trust me, it's just because there's an inner child that is so wounded and hurt. So that's my mission, truthfully.
I love that, and that was really one of the things that really attracted us to you in terms of inviting you on the show. So like this idea of you actually just connecting other people as well. Not only do you have these skills for yourself, but like you said, you're one person. But when we all come together and we work together, we can make that difference. So tell us about how you do that. That's the Thrive Well method, isn't it? Where you connect people. Is that right?
Yes. So Thrive Well. So basically, I'm in the process right now of getting ready to launch an agency. And what that is going to entail is I'm going to help clients find their dream coach, consultant, whatever it is that's going to be a right fit for them, because not everyone identifies with the word coach. So I get that. So that is actually my biggest mission right now, is to put people in with those right people that are truly going to change their mind, because there's a lot of fear when people are going out, and I've gone through it. I've had bad coaches. So why not help people eliminate that so they can find the one that's truly going to game change them from the beginning, so they don't have to waste their time, they don't have to waste their resources, their money, and everything else. I think that's so important, because if I could connect you, because based off of I identified everything within you that you're really identifying with, and put you with someone else who that's their jam, oh my gosh, like you're going to have that perfect match, and it's going to help you level up, and then you're going to get to your goals, your ambitions a lot faster. So I think that's so important. And now me personally, I'm very much into the wellness industry, so I really love like everything wellness, so that's where I like. But not everyone is. Some people are very practical. Some people, they identify with like EFT tapping, and oh my gosh, the pool of coaches and stuff out here is like insane. Like there's something for everything. Maybe it's money, like maybe you want to get better with money. I'm not a money coach, so I'm definitely not gonna I'm gonna put you on to someone who would be a better fit. And I do think that is going to be such an impactful mission. And that's really what Thrive Well is helping you thrive well. So that's how I look at it.
I love the ripple effect. I can literally see it in my head as you're talking, like all these people just reaching out to people that are the right person for them, and then the results that follow.
Definitely. So for someone who goes, obviously, who completes the Thrive Well method, who connects with a coach, what are the consequences of this for them and for the people around them as well, do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's so easy. It's so simple, because once they get that help that they truly need, one, the confidence level goes straight through the roof. Like, I think confidence is like everything. So you're confident, you're going to show up in huge ways. Like, you're not going to be scared. You're not going to be living your life in fear. You're not going to feel controlled by, external things. Like, anything that has power over you is controlling you. So, it's going to be really important that to connect people with those right people. So they're going to get their confidence level back. They're going to be happier. They're going to be willing to take more chances and live life on intention, and not just let life happen to them. So those are the things that I find to be so important. I think your finances are going to go up, because you're going to start doing what you love. I mean, I don't know how many people I talk to in my life on a daily basis that hate their jobs. Like, you can leave your freaking job and go do what you're passionate about. I'm like, isn't that like what we all truly want? I realize more and more that people want to live their passion, but they're scared to, and they feel like they don't have the resources or don't know how, or they're or scared of failure. And why not connect you with people who are gonna push you? Because one of the greatest things I did was put myself in a network of people that are constantly evolving. So when I would used to feel isolated, and that's another thing, you don't have to deal with isolation. You don't have to feel crazy about your big ideas, because once you get into a network of people who, one, they're doing similar things or they're going after it, you feed off of that energy, because you're like, you know what, they did it, I can do it too. And I think that's so important. So connection, community, all these different things play such a part in you leveling up in your life. And it also, the ripple effect of that is you're giving now other people permission to do the same. So it doesn't only just affect the person who's getting that help, but now by them being happy, them being more confident, that's going to feed off onto other people. And so now more people are going to be like, wait, what? This person had a drastic change. They changed. Well, guess what? Now I can change too. And I think that's what's so powerful.
Yeah, beautifully said. Like we're so aligned with the way that we're thinking as well. Like we always say here at Wellness Theory is when people let go of this unhealthy stress and they let go of all of those things that are in their minds holding them back, they can start to leverage that wellness. They can feel good about themselves. They can feel more confident. They feel healthier. Now they've got the energy to actually follow through and they're thinking clearly. And that's when they get to step up and almost be even more responsible for some of the bigger issues that are kind of going on around them as well. And we've been through that too. Right, when we finally got out of our own way and really started going all in on all areas of health, not just the physical side. We had to dig into the emotional side, the psychological side of everything as well. And only then did we finally start to unlock this spark of, whoa, do you know what? That ripple effect, whoa, that can be enormous. And it's almost like a cloud lifts and suddenly you have this opportunity. That being said though, what do you think, one, obviously about that, but also two, like where do you think in the world right now we need that level of awareness and commitment to change on a big level?
Yeah, so to respond to even what you just said, I do think that is so important, because again, when people show up in those big ways and that veil lifts, like, oh my gosh, like the amount of possibilities that you have. So, I think that sometimes we get so stuck in this like little box. And when we're in this little box, you don't realize how much is out there. And one of the best analogies I can use is like you're a bird in a cage and the door's been open the whole time. So it's like, just go and express yourself. And I think that on a bigger scale, on a bigger platform, that, oh my gosh, like the more people that would show up, they wouldn't feel so insecure, and they wouldn't feel like, oh, that only happens to them. Because, when we think that, oh, success can only happen to them, happiness only happens to them, when we put that outside of ourselves, we're closing off the door. We're not even allowing that flow, that energy space to even come in. So on an energy level, I mean, I drastically see the world truly like completely transforming from an environmental standpoint, from even our leaderships and political figures changing. Like I really can see such a drastic change. Like I could truly see like us having leaders that truer leaderships that have integrity, that like really show up big. I see people that are in environmental groups that are really doing like the changes that need to be changed for the world. I see people in their health like truly transforming, because you know what, they're not letting people dictate what they have. They're having a say, and they're realizing that their voice matters. And I think that also too, the one thing that I see that's happening in this world right now is separation. And I think one of the biggest things that I see happening by this is connection, coming back together and realizing we're more powerful together than we ever are separate. And I think that once we can start letting go of those identities that don't serve us, that actually isolate us, that make us feel like me against them, when we can let go of that, oh my gosh, like I'm telling you, you're going to realize there's more people like you than there aren't like you. So we're going to realize we have so much more in common. We're going to be more compassionate. We're going to take our time. We're going to flow. We're going to be more patient. We're not going to feel so stressed. I mean, stress is the number one indicator of one, unhappiness, but disease on top of that. So eliminating stress, I mean, everything will just actually truly go into a harmony state, and it will flow a lot easier. And I think that people will be a lot more happier. And I know that might be like a far-fetched idea from where we are right now, but it starts with us at the end of the day. Like it really does.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we kind of throw that into the podcast is because it might sometimes seem a long way off because it's not always in the forefront of our minds all the time, especially if we are feeling stressed or we're struggling with anxiety, or we're overwhelmed, or we've got so much chronic pain in our system because we're so stressed out. It's so hard to then see that. So just bringing it back into our awareness, I think, can sometimes even relieve some stress. I do understand that it can also feel a bit overwhelming to think big, but just like what you're doing is helping people to become more confident, connecting them with the resources they need to be able to let go of those old identities and make the difference. That's already like the drop in the ocean that starts that ripple effect. I think that's where the magic really is.
Definitely. And there's a lot of people that want to think big, but they're so kind of just stuck in the middle of all the chaos that's going around them, all that stress, and they just don't know where to start or how to get out of it. So instead of thinking big, they go, okay, that's too big for me to think of. I can only think of what I can think of me right now, what's happening to me. So what's kind of one piece of practical advice would you give to anyone who's listening who may be struggling with stress and their well-being at the moment, who want to kind of deal with that to get out and start to think a bit bigger?
Yeah, I would say, and it's going to sound crazy, but one of the best things that you can do right now to even open up that awareness for you is to go out and actually start being what you want to be. So maybe you're not there yet, but what would that person actually be doing? So if you really want to have, okay, the opposite of stress is fun. So what can you do to put yourself in to go have fun? Maybe you're a nature person, go out on a walk or hike, or, maybe you're an animal person, go play with your dog, your cat. Like, put more joy in your life and also be open to receiving it. So the simplest things that you can do is when you're out at the store right now, you have a lot of fear around people talking and dealing with each other. I think we're starting to come out of it, but, go say hi to a stranger, like, identify with them. Because when I used to go, I had a trail I used to go on all the time. And this was in a different state that I don't live in currently. And I would go on this trail, and it was one of my favorite things in the morning because you know what? I couldn't wait to just go smile and say good morning to people. Like, I was just so excited to go do that because you know what? You never know what someone's going through in their life. And just like you're struggling with someone, go be the compassion, the kindness that you want to receive because you're also going through something. And I think that would drastically, that starts that snowball effect. You have to start putting the stuff in your life. You can't just want it. You actually have to put actions in place to make it happen. So if you really do want more joy in your life, if you really want more peace in your life, well, then go be that for others as well. Go be it for yourself, schedule it. And I don't care how busy anybody is in their life, you can make time to feel good as well. It's very important to make your self-care number one priority because you can't help anybody until you help yourself. And so I really think that's what you have to start is, maybe you struggle with stress first thing in the morning. Well, what are you doing first thing in the morning that's starting stress? I can tell you one thing that causes stress for me is if I touch or deal with my phone first thing in the morning, it's going to cause me stress. So I normally put in, plan of I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do a meditation, I'm going to do affirmations. Like I'm going to put good feeling things into me first before I go deal with whatever kind of chaos might be going on my phone. So then I'm already like, I'm in Zen mode and I don't have to worry about, absorbing all the negativity. But until you put that armor around yourself, you have to prepare. You have to understand that life is gonna happen and it's not always gonna be pretty and it's not always gonna be rainbows and sunshine. And you have to be okay with that. And I think if you're okay that rain is also gonna come, thunder is also gonna come, then you're going to go through things a lot easier. It's only when we expect things to always be happy and positive that we're completely thrown off when things go wrong. So if you understand that, hey, with sunshine, there's also rain, and accept all of that, you'll be a lot happier in life, truly.
Absolutely. We're always talking about being resourceful, right? It's always been drummed in to people, and it was us as well, I think, at one stage, is that we've got to be thinking positively, and if it's not positive, then there's a problem, right? And it's like, actually, no, thinking resourcefully is the key. It's not about things being positive or negative. It's about seeing things as they are and being able to manage yourself so much that if a storm comes, you'll be the eye of the storm. You'll be the thing standing strong whilst everything else is going crazy around you. You get to stay grounded. And then from there, you get to help others and it's the most selfless thing that you can do. And I'm forever having this conversation with one person in particular about how it's very selfless versus selfish.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
No, I love that. Like, that's the best way. I mean, you put it perfectly, truthfully, but yeah, like by taking care of yourself, you really are being selfless, because if you are taking your baggage and expecting everyone else around you to carry it, that's being selfish. You know, putting your pain, your frustrations, your stress on others, that's selfish. When you take care of yourself and say, my happiness is my responsibility, nobody else's, and I'm responsible for how I react, how I respond, how I take care of things, then guess what? You take so much off of other people's plates. And then you take things off of your plate, because by you also being responsible for your own happiness, you're also not responsible for anybody else's happiness. And I think that's really important too. And I think what happens is we have people that are, and I'm guilty of this myself, people pleasing. You know, we feel that we put ourselves down first. And no, like the best thing you can do is exercise the word no also, and like say it's okay. But to be truly selfless, you have to take care of yourself first, so that other people don't have to deal with your baggage.
I love that description.
Definitely.
Perfect.
It is so true. I'm quite good at saying no. I don't really.
He's very good at
I'm
saying
very good
no.
at saying no.
Too good.
I think sometimes it gets too far the other end, where you get too used to it and you start missing certain opportunities as well. So it's finding that balance of obviously saying no when it makes sense, to make sure you're looking after yourself, and then knowing when to say yes to what serves you and what's aligned with what you want, and kind of what you want to, who you want to be. I think that's key as well, because I went down a route for years of, I don't care what people think, I'm just going to say, if I don't like it, I'm going to say no, regardless of if it's aligned with me or not. I'm just going to say no.
Yeah.
I got so used to that, I started saying no to everything as my initial reaction. As soon as anything was asked or anything came up, no. And you look back at it now and you can see like potentially so many missed opportunities that arose there, just because I got so comfortable with saying no and not becoming aware of, actually, I could have said yes to some things because they could have actually served me in a more positive way and helped me probably even kind of go in the direction I was looking to go in a lot quicker. So I think it's creating that balance as well, which is key.
Yeah, yep. And that all comes back to being aware. Yeah, it does. Exactly. That's the key word today.
Awareness.
Listen, Meisha, I'd love to know for you, in the last 5 years or so, what's the newest kind of belief or behavior or habit that's most improved your life?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, is to actually, I got it. Not take everything so seriously. You know, I'm a Capricorn, and I never identified with being a Capricorn until I owned. So prior to the work that I'm in, I used to own a juice bar. And when I owned a juice bar, the true Capricorn in me came out, and Capricorns are extremely hard workers, and we're very we laser focused, like nothing else matters. Like we're on a mission, and that's all that matters. And so I never identified with that before, because again, I was very much into my free-spirited individual self. And when I got a business and I had all this responsibility, oh gosh, I was so miserable, because I didn't, and I don't identify, I still don't like the whole Capricorn lifestyle. Like it doesn't work for me. But I realized that you have to stop taking life so seriously. Like, oh my gosh, like don't, like, let it go. And you know what I do now, I took a month and a half before I've even decided, like, okay, this is the flow I'm going with. But I also had a lot of mental work to deal with because of all this habits that I had created from being a workaholic. And again, never was, but then I was for a good strong 2 years. Once I realized that that does not serve me, that does not feel good, and it does not remotely resemble health in any form, shape, like any shape or form. And I realized, I was like, you know what? No. And now I'm like, I'm not going to take this so seriously. I'm going to have fun with this, and I'm going to see where that leads me, because I want to feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, then I'm not going to sit here and waste my time on it, because we have to also remember, we're not promised tomorrow. Like we have today, we have right now, and that's all that we have. So why am I going to sit here and waste so much time being stressed out. And I spent so much of my life right now, my like the last couple years being nothing but stressed, like overwhelmed, just miserable, angry, frustrated. And you know what? It didn't get me any closer to anything that I ever wanted. So I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to go in the opposite direction right now
Mhm.
and just have fun and see where that goes. Because at the end of the day, we all want to feel good. So fun feels great.
Thank you
Mm.
so much for sharing that. I totally resonate. I'm also a Capricorn, and also that same kind of idea of I wasn't really resonating with the classic Capricorn, and then it's like you start to learn a bit more about yourself, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm definitely like taking on a lot of these traits. And
Yes.
the kind of solution I found, similar to you, I think by the sounds of things, is actually when you step out of the almost the rat race of forcing yourself to do something, whether it's work or anything else, you actually align that with something you do care about and you love, you can actually find enjoyment in it. So other people
Yeah.
might look at me, for example, and think workaholic, but actually
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It's fun for me, and I've managed to kind of combine the two, and I think that's a very powerful thing to be able to get to,
Mm.
but without
Yeah.
self-awareness and having that playful attitude, it wasn't there.
Yes, exactly. I totally get it. Trust me. And yeah, and it is. It's aligning with what is going to feel good with you. And because then, yeah, well, someone, like you said, thinks is a workaholic, but you're really just operating in passion and fun. So it all is going to look different for all of us. But yeah, you have to be aware to find out if what's going to work. And yeah, I love that. Like, I really do love what you said, because until you go in and you see, like, nope, there it really is there, like these strong tendencies are there, you have to put them like in their proper place.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we start wrapping things up, and because obviously we've spoken in detail about so many important topics today, which is obviously absolutely amazing, and I know people listening are probably, their heads just so like full of just like amazing ideas and knowledge that they're probably, hopefully they're going to go away with, start listening to themselves, start thinking more about who they are, start actually connecting with themselves more. So before we actually wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to add to the conversation? Anything you like, final words you really think that our listeners need to hear?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely just think that it's really important to really go out and find what you love and don't be scared to go after it. Last night I actually had a conversation with my cousin, and she's also a fellow Capricorn, but she goes into the like work, she actually has a job and everything else that, she has to clock in and stuff. Well, she had messaged me yesterday and she said, you know, I really have this dream now that I want to start putting myself in my passions and see where it goes. And she said for the very first time, she was like, I want to quit my job and just have fun doing the things I love. I want to make money doing the things that I love. And I was just like, finally, I was like, you could have this. Like, I'm like, but again, like, you can't force anyone there. They have to get there themselves. And so I think it's extremely important that we understand that, we're all on a journey and it's not a race. We are all in our own perfect lanes, and we all have a story to share and we have passions to give, and the world desperately needs it. So it's really important for us to show up as authentic as we possibly can so we can really deliver what we came here to do. We all have something within us to share, and it's important that we show up and we're brave enough and we're courageous enough to share that with the world and have fun doing it. Because if you're whatever's within you, you're gonna have fun doing it because that's your calling. That's what you're here for. If you look at it in a calling form or whatever it is, your destiny, whatever you believe, it's so important that you show up for it, because don't go your whole life wasting time and regretting when you get to the end of it, like, man, I should have gone for that, but I was living in fear. Do not let fear be the driver. Instead, you're the driver, you're the authority figure in your life, and go exactly where you want to go. And I promise you, it's going to lead to some miraculous things happening in your life. And you're going to be like, I'm so glad that I did this and I showed up.
Well said. Well
Very.
said. I love it. Absolutely love it. Listen, Meisha, thank you so much for joining us today. We've absolutely loved having you on the show. Really enjoyed this conversation. I know our audience would too. But before you go, just let us know where can our audience find you if they want to come and connect and see what you're up to.
Absolutely. And thank you guys so much for having me. Like, this was an amazing conversation. First thing for me in the morning, I'm like, yeah, now I'm ready to go take on my day. So, but yeah, you can find me at Meisha_Osorio. That's MEISHA_OSORIO. And then I also have Thrive Well Method on Instagram as well. You can follow there. I'm on Facebook, but truthfully, follow me on Instagram. That's where I do a lot more of my business stuff. And yeah, so that's one of the main sources I have. I have a website that's going to come out that will also be thrivalmethod.com, and that will be launching in the next couple weeks as well. So probably by the time that this is out, it will be up.
Perfect. We'll add all of those links into the show notes, so they'll be able to find you straight away. We again just want to say really grateful for you coming on, and we're excited to see how things continue to evolve for you as well. And we'll be here cheering you on all the way.
Yes, and back at you guys. I will be doing the same thing. I think what you guys are also doing is amazing work, and I'm really thankful that I got to come on and collaborate with you guys. I think it's awesome, and yeah, I look forward to supporting each other in our current journeys.